Welcome back to another episode of the What's the Play podcast. We're recording this after the Super Bowl, of course. So we're going to get right into it. So on our previous TikTok, we obviously gave Super Bowl predictions. And in the comments, Jalen had a great suggestion that we give somebody a prize for the person who had either the most accurate or closest to the most accurate prediction.
Oh, you was for real. I didn't know that was a real thing. I didn't know it was a real thing for real.
What, the prize thing?
Yeah, I didn't know.
I ain't gonna lie. He said that I said that. I forgot that I said that.
Yeah, that was a whole. Yeah, that was a whole comment in the TikTok. So
okay.
And so, as a result, of course, you know the guy who had the most accurate prediction out of all of us was Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided as a prize, you know, we're still pretty early in the podcasting game, so we couldn't give him anything monetary, but we decided, you know, to give him the ability to start off our Super Bowl review analysis uninterrupted, without anything, as long as he decides to go, and then we'll talk after. So, Christian, feel free to take it away when you're ready.
Nah, don't feel free. Just hold on a second. Let me clarify. We could monetarily give him something.
We could.
We have the means.
I didn't say.
No, you said we couldn't.
I don't want to say we ain't got.
We don't want to.
Let me clarify this. We got the means, but I mean,
we got Amazon workers and all that.
I'm not trying to say we broke or anything. I'm just saying I don't know if anybody was willing to do anything monetary right now.
I ain't say it was you.
JG and Nate.
I'm not saying we broke, man.
Right
I want y'all to understand. I'm not saying that we broke.
I'm
Nobody
not
up here is broke,
no
man.
credit for picking Mahomes, man. Just go ahead and talk, man. I'm not.
So why are you so mad? It's all right though. You know, I don't want to take up too much. Actually, give me a second, real quick.
You
gotta take your hair back.
He got the jersey.
Oh, that's so sick.
Ain't no way.
Oh my!
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. That night I went to sleep in the Chiefs blanket. I did.
My fault, y'all.
I'm not, but I was one at the house.
Had to handle something real quick. You know,
I wanted to feel like a winner.
had to change an appearance. You know, just to support my GOAT, the best player I've ever seen touch a football. You know,
The way he throw that ball.
the way that boy throws that ball, as Adrian Peterson would say, was inspirational. You know, Patrick didn't do anything too insane in that game, and that was an amazing game. I just want to start off with that. Shout out to the Eagles. You know, even though I'm a Commanders fan, they had a great game. They had me worried. They were up 10 at halftime. I was in the crib a little worried because, you know, I didn't want my GOAT to lose another Super Bowl. But that Chiefs defense showed up when it mattered. Jalen Hurts had that big fumble. That hurts. But Jalen Hurts played a great game. On the ground, of course, that QB sneak stuff. I don't, love it because it just looks like rugby, looks like hockey. But you mean if it's not banned yet, so you got to respect it for the great offensive play calling. Because if you can't stop it, I don't blame them for calling it. But he got it done through the air as well. He really put to bed the notion of the mobile quarterback not being able to win the big game. And I had mentioned that in the last episode. And even though he didn't win that specific Super Bowl, you can see that the moment wasn't too big for his play style, wasn't too big for him as a quarterback. I just want to mention, the Chiefs defense. They didn't really create that Jalen Hurts turnover. He kind of dropped the ball, but that was a big play for them to pick up the ball, get into the end zone, and that Miles Sanders catch that was ruled incomplete kind of looked like a fumble, up in the air. But for them to reverse it, I don't know if you can reverse a call like that when it has to be like conclusive for it to be reversed. But other than that, the Chiefs offense was clicking. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy caught a great game. Really took advantage of the mismatches in the Eagles defense, took advantage of that man coverage in the goal line. Third and goal offense for the Chiefs was really essential for this game. For them to be able to get touchdowns in the red zones instead of field goals is really what won them in this game, because the Eagles did put up 35 points. And it's not like this was a team that you were going to stop from scoring consistently. So they had to just outscore them, which I said before the game. When I said my initial score prediction of 41-35, a couple people on the podcast said, whoa, that's a little high. But, I just believed in my guys, I'm not a Chiefs fan, but I always pull for them in the playoffs because the Commanders are never there. So I was just glad to see him get the job done. And Mahomes didn't do anything special, but he got the job done. He didn't make any mistakes, really, and he just played through adversity, that ankle injury that's been bothering him for the past almost a month. He was just able to get it done on the biggest stage, really cements himself as a top 2 quarterback of all time, in my opinion. Just foreshadowing. Chasing Tom Brady is what he's doing for the rest of his career. He's clear of Peyton Manning. He's clear of Joe Montana. He's clear of Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, any of the rest of them. I'm sorry.
Wait.
I mean, no matter how you feel about it, it's just the truth. Pat Mahomes already has 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs. He may be one of the last quarterbacks ever to win Offensive Player of the Year because that's now a non-quarterback award. And I'm just glad to see him get his recognition, him get his success, because going forward, that cap hit's going to start rising. And I'm just glad that he got these 2 Super Bowls early. If he gets a couple more, that Brady Mahomes debate is going to be legendary for the next decade plus. Even then, for the rest of the century, for the rest of our lives, we're going to be talking about Brady Mahomes. We're going to be 60 years old talking about Brady Mahomes. And whenever we see some young quarterback who looks like they have it, we're gonna, well, he wasn't Mahomes and he wasn't Brady, but I'll say this: Brady's not Mahomes. And foreshadowing going forward, I could see Mahomes overtaking Brady as the GOAT. He got a little bit more work to do, but I think right now he's number 2. He's only 27 years old. I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but I was right. And I like to be proud about being right, because a lot of the guys don't really give me the acknowledgement when I am right, because I think on this podcast I am shooting the highest percentage when it comes to takes, but a lot of people don't like to hear that. And just for me, I wish if Harrison Butker made that first kick, my score prediction would have been perfect. But life doesn't work like that all the time. But I was right. The rest of them were wrong. Some people had the correct team. Some people had the wrong team.
You had a wrong score too.
No. My score was the closest, the most dead on possible.
He still was wrong. That's funny.
You guys were more wrong. You all were more wrong. Much more wrong.
Wronger.
The wrongest. Who had the Eagles? SportsFan? Did SportsFan have the Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, makes sense. Nate also had the Eagles. Have to excuse Nate. He's a new football fan. He watches the other football. You have to excuse him, though. But SportsFan, I expected better from you to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I don't know why you thought the ankle would really bother him that much. This is the second best quarterback you've ever seen, ever. And you picked against him for an Eagles team because they have cool jerseys or something. I don't know what you picked them for. But it's okay. I forgive you as the lead Patrick Mahomes fan on this podcast. I forgive you. Brian, I respect you for picking the Chiefs. Who else picked the Chiefs? Did Caleb probably picked the Chiefs.
Caleb and Demarco both picked the Chiefs.
See, Demarco, ball. That's the difference between you and Nate. You guys are both basketball guys. But, Nate tends to lean more into football as his second sport. And you lean into football as your second sport. And I can respect that. But yeah, not too much. You guys, it's all love for you guys. But, I took the time to let you guys know I was right. Now everybody else can give their little analysis and tell us how wrong they felt about the game.
Go ahead, Jay.
All right, Jay, about to say, Jay-Z, go ahead, because I know you wanted to interrupt at least
ahead.
3 different times.
You might as well.
I got nothing to say, man. I mean, I guess he was right about most of it. Everything he said was pretty much right, other than I'm not sure how he's better than Peyton Manning already. I'm not understanding that one based on.
Now, let me ask you this. I asked this question in the group chat a couple of days ago. When you're watching Mahomes play, are you watching with your eyes, your heart, or your mind?
What?
Yo.
Ain't no way.
Yo, you're really chewing on it, man. You got it. Come on.
That was a crazy statement when he asked that in the group chat.
Whole careers, or are you comparing just how you feel about that, man? Are you tracking?
It's not about how. I'm trying to see how you answer. Are you watching with your eyes?
I'm watching, looking at my eyes, and knowing Peyton Manning won 4 MVPs.
How many Super Bowls did he win?
5 MVPs? Oh. Damn.
How many Super Bowls did he win?
And 2 Super Bowls? Oh. Okay.
How long did it take him to win the second Super Bowl? Isn't that the grand prize, the Super Bowl?
Are you projecting, or are you saying
Because,
right now Mahomes is better?
Yes, right now Mahomes is better as a football player.
Okay.
I see what CT's saying. I don't agree with him completely. I know you don't see it at all. I know you don't. But, we haven't seen a talent like Mahomes ever, bro. Like, ever. Like,
Closest is probably Rodgers, and he only has 1.
Yeah, but, to me, the only people who got past is Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Joe Montana because of the rings and longevity. I think the longevity adds a lot in terms of sports and career and legacies. But I think he's not far, though. 5 years. I can see him passing Manning.
I think he's top 4, minimum. But you say he's cemented at number 2.
Who's 2 and 3 then?
Peyton and Montana, right?
Peyton and Montana.
In terms of
Seems right to
greatest?
Montana.
In terms of greatest?
So it's just the MVPs that does it for you for Peyton?
You're
'Cause
projecting, though.
So if Mahomes gets 2 MVPs in the next 2 years, then what?
But 5 MVPs is crazy, bro.
But if you but
that's not a
but to
big deal.
CT's point, if Mahomes gets 2 more MVPs, he's
He
at
ain't
4
there
right
yet,
there.
though.
Are we doing?
So you're
I know it's
Are we doing right now?
I know it's
But how much
projection
of
a
a
little
projection
bit.
is that? But it's not like where he's gonna. I'm not projecting him to fall off a cliff, and I'm not projecting him to just continue on this rise. It's just the fact that he has 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls at the age of 27 as a quarterback. Like, at some point, we just have to understand that
It's gonna
it's
happen.
not a projection
We know
when
it's
we're
gonna
watching.
happen.
We're watching with our eyes. This is the best talent at the quarterback position we've ever seen. And it's not like he's not getting the job done. This isn't like a Dan Marino. When Dan Marino came out, he was probably one of the best quarterbacks the league has ever seen, just based off pure arm talent. But Dan Marino was never able to win those games, win the Super Bowl. He retired with none. Patrick Mahomes has 2 already. Peyton Manning finished with 2. That's the grand prize. You're talking about MVPs. Okay, cool. But 4 MVPs in a whole career versus 2 MVPs in his first 5 seasons as a starter? I'm taking 2 in the first 5 seasons.
But once again, we know that's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. That's just this thing.
But with CT, he likes to be like early on stuff, so he's making his proclamations now.
I don't know if I'm early though.
All right, who's next? Who gonna get the analysis on the game? Or
Nate,
biggest takeaway?
you go,
Nate,
Brian.
OG,
You
either
go
one
ahead,
of
Brian.
y'all.
Yeah.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
honestly, CT kind of said a good amount there. But I want to take this time to talk about Jalen Hurts, my league MVP. He had a phenomenal game. Obviously, like CT said, he had the one situation where he tried to switch his hand, switch the ball to the other hand, and he fumbled, and that led to a touchdown. But I mean, I don't think there was anything else he could have done to honestly win that game. Maybe outside of that three and out they had, but like outside of that, they were basically playing well. I think that quarterback sneak will probably be. They're looking at it, so it may not be a thing next year, but I think he'll still be successful with it because he's a pretty strong player and things of that nature. It was good to see him play well. Obviously, make some tough throws. I know the AJ Brown one was like debated a little bit, but that's on. And I know McDuffie probably could have played the ball better, but Jalen put it in the right spot for AJ to go make a play and all those things. So it was good to see. It was great to see him play like that. Definitely gonna get all the money in the offseason. Chiefs side, I mean, not too much for me to say. Obviously, I mean, Pat did his thing. Defense played well. In the second half, it was able to give Mahomes multiple chances at the football and chances to make plays, and it kind of just seemed like a reversal of the first half. And then I guess my final point, I said in the previous episode that I couldn't see the Chiefs coming back from down 10 because I thought that Sirianni and the Eagles would like continue to be able to run the football effectively. Obviously, outside of Jalen Hurts, nobody was really able to run the football all that well on Philly. But I think them getting away from the running game probably hurt them a little bit more in the second half because they had the lead, but then again, once they had that 3 and out, and then of course you weren't able to convert red zone drives, as Christian said, into 7 points. It gave Mahomes and the crew chances to make things happen. So that's my analysis on the game.
Yeah, unfortunately, Miles Sanders sucks, and he probably won't get re-signed. So that's part of the issue. They couldn't really run the ball outside of Hurts. I don't even think any running back on the team have over 20 rushing yards.
Probably Gainwell might have, maybe, but I think that might have been off a couple of good rushes.
But yeah, it was basically all Jalen Hurts with his arm and his legs. He made one throw to the right sidelines, and I want to say
the Goddard
too. Yeah, he threw over a safety or a corner and beneath the other safety. So it was a really good throw. I think it was on 3rd down, and at that point I thought the game was basically in the bag, but the Eagles let the momentum get away from them, and the Chiefs kind of took it over. They got a punt return, basically put them in the red zone, and then earlier in the season, the Jaguars, coached by Doug Peterson, ran a certain play where would they motion, and then they motion the player right back out before they come across the middle of get to the hash basically, and what the Eagles were doing because teams like the Chiefs like the motion a lot in the Jags. What the Eagles would do, they would have the corner go to the safety, and then the safety bump down so to cover the man that's in motion. So the corner doesn't go all the way across the field to cover the motion man, because that's really hard for a corner to do. So when the receiver just stops on the dime and go right back out, and Darius Slay or I'm trying to remember, I think it was Maddox, they both already like in the middle of the field in the safety spot. It's impossible for them to get back outside. I'm not sure where the communication was, because once that corner goes to the middle of the field, somebody's supposed to pick up on the outside man, which is then the man that's going out from the on that motion. I don't know who messed up there, because they did it twice. I'm sure the play wasn't drawn up from just to leave that whole side of the field by themselves. So somebody miscommunicated, and I guess we'll never know.
Because it looked like on the first one, the Toney, you saw like Darius pointing over, almost to say like, you go get Toney, I'm gonna get Kelsey, and then by the time the ball was snapped, Kelsey was already outside of both of them, and then of course Toney was just walking
wide open. I'm not sure if the dude that was in the slot was supposed to pick up, or on both sides, and then Maddox, he sprinted all the way to the middle of the field.
Yeah, I was about to say on the second touchdown, the Sky Moore, he basically just sprinted to the middle like it was just gonna be an easy thing.
When you motion, when you're gonna call out motion, you actually gotta watch the motion. I'm not sure what they're looking at, or they just look straight at the safety, because they wasn't even looking at the backfield no more. If they looked in the backfield, you would have saw the receiver didn't even go all the way, but they just straight committed all the way to the middle of the field. So probably Kelsey had an impact on that, because they're probably scared of letting them be open. So basically gave 2 open touchdowns, and it's pretty much how you lose games, special teams and bad red zone defense. Mahomes had under 200 passing yards, and he still won Super Bowl MVP, so he did what he had to do, made all the right throws, made the right reads. I want to say in the second half, they got almost, I think the only time they didn't get to the end zone or drive was when Jared McKinnon fell down at the 1 on purpose to stop the clock, because the Eagles were trying to let him score. But other than that, they got every yard they could, and the Eagles are struggling on defense to stop them. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. A lot of teams have struggled to stop them. So, ain't the first time. So, the 49ers struggle to do the same thing. So, it's nothing new.
Yeah. This is, to me, is a classic Super Bowl. Just because it was clear and by far the 2 best teams in the league actually doing it out, and just show how great Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid are. The masterclass that they put on the second half is pretty admirable, and it's a classic, legendary moment for both of them. Where Eagles had all the momentum, even though you did score on the fumble return, but Eagles, it didn't slow them down in the first half still. So that play in the red zone did kill them though, that they got from Doug Peterson and the Jaguars, because I know Kansas City runs a lot of motion, but they haven't run this specific play or type of play until the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
I think I was looking at the NFL All Access film, and they showed the coach's audio. I think Eric Bieniemy pointed it out and noticed it, I guess, in this film work throughout the season, and said if they're going to guard it this way, we can just keep doing it. I think they tested it earlier in the game. Or maybe early in that drive, they just did the motion and let them do it all the way, and they saw that the safety bumped down and the corner went to safety. So the next time, they just said, okay, don't go all the way, stop at the hash and go right back out, and he was wide open twice.
yeah, but credit to Nick Sirianni and then Jalen Hurts and the whole team, because that was a battle. But once again, I think that both Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes just solidified themselves as some of the greatest to ever do it. And that's not much you can say about it. It's a true classic. It's what we expected. And yeah, that's all we have to say about it. I kind of point out everything else I did want to say, so I won't repeat y'all. But it was just a great Super Bowl to watch. Probably my favorite Super Bowl outside of Super Bowl. Was that 58? No, not 58.
Which game you think
56.
about?
56.
Which one do you think
Say
about?
the teams.
I won't say the number though. It's Eagles and Patriots.
52.
52. That's 52. I say 58, but yeah, 52. That's probably one of my favorites.
That's
What he
the
was saying.
fakest Super Bowl I ever seen. Because Nick Foles ain't never played like that ever again.
That man was
Nick
locked
Foles
in.
ain't played like that. Brady dropped the pass, and you had the strip sack at the end, which was I just knew Brady was gonna go down. To
And Philly
score.
special. Don't forget about that.
Philly special, Philly.
I
But,
think
yeah, that's hard to say.
I think this game easily would have probably been the best Super Bowl of all time if it didn't end the way it did.
So
let's talk about that because
Oh, me and Nate gotta go.
Okay.
Nate, you wanna go first? I went first last time.
Okay, yeah, I'll rock out. I think most of y'all touched on everything I wanted to say, and I'm gonna for a second, I'm gonna take it away from just football, but just like from the lens of just like sports in general. But before that, yeah, Andy Reid stamped that he's one of the best to ever do it. I think just the play calling in the fourth, and then also just actually, I'll guess that for a second, but just like I think something that stuck out to me was just at least like early on the fourth, Kansas like run game came alive. They were averaging like nearly 10 yards a carry. I'm sorry, nearly 9 yards a carry early on that fourth. And then Kadarius Toney, who wasn't really utilized that much in the first half, but just like the play calling to get him that look for that touchdown on fourth down was impressive. And then ultimately, like,
Sorry,
I don't know.
Real quick, speaking of Tony, I forgot he had a key punt return too. That's really.
And the punt return, yep.
So.
Yep. And then I think also, I mean, I don't know what else there's to be said about like Mahomes and his greatness, but I just think like taking a step back from not even football, but something that just like really struck me was just like the storyline of the game, at least, or like when you look at the storyline of Mahomes in that game, him injuring his ankle, and then you know the fear of like, oh man, like he's not going to be the same, he's not going to look good throughout the rest of the game, and then for him to come out and have the performance that he did post tweaking that ankle and just having like a bunch of like over my dead body types of plays, especially that like 25, 26-yard scramble in the fourth, like not even just talking about football, but when we just talk about sports and like how that game played, because at the end of the day, like sports, and I'm not trying to get like too artsy or whatever with it, but like sports is like really just like a story. At the end of the day, it's just like it's another form of storytelling, and I just thought like in a way, because again, I'm not like the biggest football fan like my other co-hosts here, but I just thought like damn, that was compelling, and just that's greatness. I don't know, that's greatness. I don't know what else there is to say, but that's a legacy game too. I think it adds on to that conversation of where Mahomes ranks all the time. It's not necessarily he won the Super Bowl, but just the fashion he won it in, and for him to lock in and put out that type of performance, to just say like I'm not leaving here without it. You got to that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Nate, you said it best. I mean, like I said, I was in the storyboard meeting for the script, and it went perfectly. It went right according to plan.
Oscar nominated with it.
Man, the drama with the injury. Oh man, yeah. But I mean, of course, I knew. I was watching the game with my girl, my roommate, and her boyfriend, and my other friend, and of course, I was tipsy at the time. So when Mahomes went down, I was like, he's coming back. Calm.
You just knew it.
I knew he was coming back. Now,
LeBron levels.
was he truly hurt as a man who's going through a high ankle sprain for the last 7 months, and I just finished therapy like 3 months ago.
He faked that injury.
He might
fake that.
He might have tweaked it.
I don't know. On the sidelines, he looked like his leg about to fall off.
But then he rushed 30 yards.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Man, that man probably got a shot.
They shot it horse shots.
They numbed that man.
I don't know, man.
Crazy, right? So that's all I'm saying. I'm gonna let y'all think about that. I'm gonna put conspiracy little salt in it. You know what I'm saying? Let y'all do the rest with that. But it was a great game. I very much enjoyed it. I mean, halftime performance was great. Also, no one spoke to that.
Everyone think that it was like it was good.
It was good. It wasn't crazy, but it was good.
Great.
She's pregnant.
Huh? What does that mean? That's her
She
fault.
couldn't-
What do you mean? What does that mean?
That's her fault.
That's her
I
fault.
thought she moved pretty well.
No, she did good.
We're
She's
gonna have to cut
pregnant, but
this.
still, some things prevent things from being like as great as they can be. It's just because she's pregnant. I'm not going to be like, oh my goodness, it was so great because she was like, I understand she was limited because
So
she's
you're not
pregnant.
grading on
I'm
the
not saying
curve.
that.
So you're basically not going to grade on the curve.
You said phenomenal.
That's what you're saying.
Phenomenal is a crazy
no,
word
I
to use.
think-
No,
That's not why
I
he
said
said
phenomenal.
It's phenomenal the second it started.
That's funny.
I don't know what
I
to tell
think,
you.
I think, I think
I
with
couldn't
Caleb,
drop my rating. I mean,
They know what I'm saying. They
she
know what
looked
I'm
in the
saying.
camera and I was
I
like, you
think-
know what?
They know what I'm saying.
Nah,
I think with Caleb, I'm trying to give Caleb exit, but I think with Caleb,
Your heart and mind.
ooh.
She did really good.
Are you watching
She did-
with your eyes, your heart, or your mind?
Right.
Saying, did you?
I'm
Let's
taking
talk
that.
my
about-
mind?
He
I
said
think
it's
with-
Oh,
wrong.
you can't take that. I'm
Go ahead,
taking
Nate.
that. That's so good.
I think
But,
what Caleb's really trying to say is, I'm trying to give him exit here, is that not in terms of the performance. Like we've seen Beyonce do it. We've seen Beyonce for pregnant, so he may have a higher standard, but I think Riri killed it.
Wait, huh?
It just sounded like you wasn't gonna grade on her.
Pregnant women to a higher standard.
Beyonce was not pregnant at the
No,
Super
but I'm saying
Bowl.
Beyonce.
No,
not
he's
the
just
Super
saying
Bowl.
in general.
comparing
He's
performance.
Because she
multiple
performed-
times
she
pregnant.
performed.
I mean, yeah, Prince and Beyonce set the bar, but like, hey.
The only thing I wanted to speak on also with Christian's monologue, he said that Jalen Hurts has proven that a dual threat quarterback can win. Got you. Yeah, he hasn't proven it because he hasn't won. As simple as that.
This is not.
Damn, he got a win.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is in a
got
dual threat
four
quarterback.
How you gonna prove if he ain't win?
He got 4 touchdowns.
Patrick Mahomes, hold on. But Patrick
No.
Mahomes ain't a dual threat
I believe.
quarterback.
Hold on.
He's a dual
I
threat
believe
person.
I believe I said that a dual threat quarterback can win at this level.
Uh-huh.
If that holding call is not made, we don't know how this game ends.
All right,
In a loss.
let's hold off on that real quick.
And I understand that he did lose, but
guess
they
we
did
never
not lose because of his play style.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Mm.
He
Even-
was the
even-
reason they were in the game for the most part. That QB sneak stuff that you can do with him, you can't do with a pocket passer that just doesn't exist in today's NFL anymore.
He was
His
down.
defense
He
gave
was
up 31
diamond. He was
points.
diamond,
Like,
but
come
we
on,
did
man.
see who came out on the end. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I
His
knew
defense
that.
gave up 31 points.
Yeah, second half was atrocious. That's atrocious.
Even that mistake he made with the fumble, he came back on the next drive and scored.
Literally
so
came right back and
They was
scored.
came back.
But
I do want to say this, and SportsFan said something about this earlier about how the Eagles. Because last week I said if the Chiefs were down in the third quarter, I didn't think they were going to win the game. And they proved me wrong because the Eagles, they didn't really go away from the run, but they just weren't able to run the ball. And Miles Sanders, I didn't expect Miles Sanders to get hurt and fumble out of bounds on the first play of the game. It seemed like he was just shook from that moment on.
But
and
can I say
Kenneth
something?
Gainwell,
Before Kayla goes, I was just gonna say I probably should have stated it better. They stopped running Jalen as much because Jalen was literally like running the whole first half. And
Well, yeah.
it seemed like they stopped
But
running.
also,
but go ahead, Caleb.
But also, Nick Bolton, that man was balling that game, bro. That man was everywhere. Like, I see why like the run game slowed down because they stopped using Jalen, but also in the run game and the short passer game, Nick Bolton came up big a lot. He was all over that field. But go ahead, JG. That's all you about to talk.
Yeah, he was talking about. Oh yeah, Miles Sanders. You talking about that play Miles Sanders like basically caught a swing pass and he got crushed?
No. I'm talking about the first play of the game where he
where he,
carried
bounced
it
outside.
and he fumbled the ball going out of bounds. That's when I knew.
Okay.
I knew he was not locked in.
You knew he was shook.
Yeah, he was cooked, and then he got hurt. I don't know what injury he had.
Parlays are dead.
Yeah, I don't know what he hurt. I just know.
I should have just had AJ Brown instead of Miles
And
Sanders.
and
I don't know why I didn't listen to myself.
Gainwell had a couple of nice carries, but I looked it up. He only had 21 rushing yards, 3 yards a carry.
So he barely
And that's just not going to get the job done, especially for a team that was leaning on the run so heavily this year. And that's how you put the game away in a game that you're up 10 at halftime. You think if the Eagles are up 10 at halftime, with the way that they've played all regular
Exactly.
season, you would think that the game was just made for them and they had it made. But they just weren't able to do it anymore for some reason. And, I mean, Miles Sanders, he was hurt. And then when he did come back in, he dropped the swing pass, fumble, drop, whatever you want to call it. And then we barely heard from him the rest of that game after that. It was a little disappointing, the performance he put up, especially since he's trying to get a contract this offseason. And running backs are barely getting paid.
Done
Running backs are disposable, bro.
Yeah, running backs are not going to get paid.
Very
I
disposable.
mean, he may have lost
Saquon's
about,
probably the only running back that's gonna get paid in the cycle.
he may have lost
Josh
about $3
Jacobs.
million a year, $3 million a year off this one game alone.
Who's paying Miles Sanders in your
Miles Sanders getting his money.
who's paying
I
who's
don't
paying
know.
in your opinion?
I don't know. And I really
The
don't know.
Cardinals
He gonna
might.
get his money. You gonna find a way.
Well, they already paying James Conner, so I don't know if they're
why
gonna do
he's my
that.
team. He digging. I don't know.
Don't they have an out for James Conner this offseason?
What?
And out like to get out.
Isn't
of
there
the
a out for that contract?
No.
He says no.
Because wasn't it only a 2-year deal?
3-year deal.
3-year deal.
Sorry. paid a running back with 86 speed. Can't make it.
It's
Okay,
upgraded to
so
88 now.
Steve Kahn,
Be
Steve
respectful.
Kahn was cooking up, man.
So
He was cooking.
Do you have the stats up right now, CT?
What do you need?
How many targets did AJ Brown get?
Not enough.
AJ Brown had 8 targets, 6
He had
catches,
8?
96 yards.
Wow. Wow.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say they probably could
They
have,
were balling.
even though the short game wasn't working, in terms of running the ball, maybe they could have thrown some more like passes to AJ because he really wasn't. There was really nobody that could stop him in that game.
It may seem so low because Devontae had about like the first 4 or 5 catches on that first drive. I was really worried once they did not seem to be able to stop him at all on that first drive.
I got a question for y'all. Oh no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like, not even the Super Bowl, but following the fact after that whole kerfluffle on social media with
Juju.
with Juju and AJ Brown and was Stroud involved? Stroud was involved. Even Mahomes said like they just talking. Y'all think the NFL gonna book them opening night?
But let's talk about Juju. Let's talk about Juju real quick.
That's a really good question, Nate.
Let's talk about Juju real quick because last week I said that Juju was going to have a pretty big impact.
You
on this
did
game.
say that.
And, you know, 7 catches, 53 yards. You know, it may not look
That's
as appealing. You know,
For
7
Juju,
catches
that's
for 53
solid.
yards.
Nah,
Considering
they were
that he
moving
barely
chains.
did anything last week, those are good numbers, especially in that second half. He was just moving the chains.
And
Then,
he picked up first downs when it
he,
mattered.
he ran the touchdown route at the end of the game.
I don't know.
is
KT
why he
might
got
be wide
help.
receiver 1 now.
You know the ball goes through
I know
Travis
what you're
Kelce.
saying, but he might be wide receiver 1 now.
Kadarius Toney,
If
man.
he
I've been
stays
waiting.
healthy, he might be wide receiver.
I've been waiting, man. He finally did something.
It could happen.
He has the
There's going to
talent.
be number one. It's not likely.
The
but it could
Chiefs
happen.
know. You can tell that they know because they be trying. He
It's
just got
crazy.
it.
I don't want to sound too. I'm gonna sound hyperbolic, so let me just say it anyway. I think he could play.
No,
he
he
could
probably
play.
not.
I think he could play the Tyreek role.
All
I know
right.
he's not.
Yeah,
I know
sure
he's not a
can.
deep threat, but
Sure can.
Gold.
He sure can. He sure can.
He got the speed for him.
Yes.
No,
he's definitely got the lateral quickness.
There's not a
the question
player.
is,
Nobody has
the question is if he has the
No
deep
has
threat.
Tyreek speed. I know.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the outside threat that Tyreek was.
That's what I'm saying. He's got the lateral. He's
in his
definitely got the
prime.
lateral quickness as we saw in that punt return.
if you
But the
want a
question is,
player-
as a deep threat, would he be?
But he didn't
He's
even
not
play
Tyreek.
that
He'd be
great.
more Percy Harvin. Not Tyreek.
That's not a bad person. That's not
But
a bad.
who
That's
were
not a
the-
bad person.
who
to
are
be.
people
There's a
comparing
very
early Tyreek
big
Hill
gap
to?
between those two players. So I'm
Who
wondering.
were people
Well, I mean,
comparing
Percy
early
Harvin
Tyreek
never
Hill
stayed
to?
healthy.
But-
So that's.
But it's
The
not.
only-
Stayed healthy. He was never gonna be as good as Tyreek.
Like CT, it's not early like Tyreek no more. This is a full blown Tyreek Hill now. It's not.
No,
Don't
I'm
do
not
that.
talking about. I'm saying Kadarius Toney could be in the early Tyreek Hill role, where he was normally just a slot receiver, getting
And running back
80 to
punts.
90 catches a year. But yeah, running back punts as well. But before he really unlocked and became that true wide receiver 1, he was a good enough wide receiver. He played in the slot. He would play outside. He didn't really unlock until Jalen Ramsey caught him a punt return in that game. But before then, he was playing in the slot. I think Kadarius Toney could be that shifty receiver that they need in the slot with the speed to stretch the defense a little bit. Sky Moore has that. Sky Moore, I'm not as moved by Sky Moore as I was before, but I think he has that potential as well to just be a deep threat for them.
Only question I got to pose to y'all in terms of like Juju moving forward in his role on this team is that he wasn't even his production in the regular season was like I don't want to be respectful, but it wasn't good.
It was of an average receiver.
I think he could be better in the second year.
That's what I was gonna say. You think okay if he
because-
sustained
because
somewhat of how he played?
Yeah, because I don't know how you take away KC now because like with Tyreek it was obviously like play too high and just make Patrick throw the ball underneath. But now like Patrick's pretty comfortable throwing to the intermediate routes and things of that nature. So and that's where that's the area that Juju thrives in. So I think he'll have a better year next year, but. Yeah, I think you just got to be more accustomed.
My honest opinion on Juju.
Teams, go ahead.
What
My fault.
Oh, you better say this with your heart or your eyes or your brain.
Juju, no, is it Boo Boo?
Wait a second.
JujuSmith-Schuster?
Yeah, there it is. You know it.
What do you call him?
Wait, say it again, CT.
JujuSmith-Schuster.
Yeah, that's what he called him because he fumbled the game away to get the Steelers in the playoffs.
That's so
Hey,
silly.
bro, I was in New Orleans. I think I told you the story already. I saw Juju in the hotel I was staying in.
Does he look like a goofy nigga?
Is he really that corny?
He's a goofy nigga.
He's a goofy nigga.
He's a goofy
Goofy
nigga.
in a good way or goofy in
In a
a
bad way.
in a bad way?
Not a good type of
He's
In a
too
bad
goofy.
way. In a bad way.
Oh man.
Like,
goofy.
like
He beat up in the
he's an
streets.
asshole though, bro.
Was he doing like TikTok dances in the lobby?
TikTok wasn't a thing yet, gang.
No, sure.
So this is USC Juju?
No.
What Juju was this?
Like
Just Pittsburgh.
rookie or second year of Juju.
He had a
Oh,
thousand. He had a
oh,
18,
1,000
19.
that season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the year
Oh,
he
this
fumbled.
is a while ago. I thought this was recent.
Yeah, that's on. I tried to ask for a picture. He said no. Look at me up down and said nah.
He must have knew your
Then
team allegiance.
The next he probably did. Fuck the Steelers. But I was on the boat the next day. I was going to cruise with my family. I was watching the game at the bar.
Celebrate when he fumbled.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? How happy I was. I
Congratulations.
saw him fumble, bro. I was
That
so
man
happy,
prayed on
bro.
his
I
downfall.
pray
so
on the
hard.
downfall. I pray for downs like
Right
this.
on the
man.
downfall.
So to answer your
Respectable.
other question, Nate, that would definitely be a good question because I think the only Super Bowl rematch I remember being the opening night game was the Broncos and the Panthers, like the very next season. But it would definitely be compelling television if
Script race itself,
everybody come
man.
back. Everybody came back.
Wait,
Honestly,
dude,
they-
AFC played in NFC East?
What?
Did AFC West play in NFC East next year? Do they?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't think so.
No, but
I know
I just know that
They
I
play-
believe
they
we
do
play.
play. They
I
do play
believe
each
the NFC
Play Eagles,
East
though?
plays the
Yeah,
NFC
they
West.
play-
Oh, that's the first week. That's the first week game.
Nah, I think
It
they're gonna
should
do.
be.
I think they're gonna do Bengals Chiefs.
No.
That's a good one.
Played
They
out.
probably do it later in the
Played out.
season.
Different. My bad.
I think they should do
I
it later in
know.
the
Yeah,
season.
I know, Jalen.
I think we should say before the episode ends. Somebody was saying earlier, you don't know what you're gonna take away from the Chiefs, because I don't know if this was a year ago or 2 years ago. Like at the beginning of the season, teams were starting to run a lot of cover two against Mahomes because they didn't think he was disciplined enough to just take what the defense gives him and take the underneath routes. But that went out the window, and the Chiefs didn't really have a running game coming up into this year consistently. And I think they found a running back now. Isiah Pacheco
My X factor.
ran that ball in that Super Bowl, man. It's the new group chat name. Yeah. I think they found a running back going forward. He had a quiet 1,000 yards this year. I tried to tell y'all before the season, but nobody wasn't trying to hear it. But he had a quiet 1,000 yards
drafted
this
him.
year, and I think if he I know I did, and I cut him. And then if he develops as a receiver going forward, it may get crazy. Pro Bowl level player
Yeah.
at that running back position, I think. And then like, what do you do if you have a Pro Bowl? Because he runs hard, and if he can develop in that passing game, man.
Hey man, Kareem Hunt was a dude. That was
Yeah,
a man with the
that's what
Chiefs
they
one
thought.
time.
What
Look what happened
CT
with
is
him.
saying? What CT is saying right now is what the Chiefs wanted CEH to be. So
Oh, I know. That scrub CEH that almost lost me the lead.
Man, I don't know why they thought that man.
they saw that game against Bama when he caught that last touchdown.
Hey,
That's what it was.
can I be honest with you though? When I traded for CEH, he sparked my win streak. He put like 20-something points 1 week. That was just then
That
I
was
ain't
it for
lose
him,
to
huh?
like the last week.
That's all he needed.
Now I won chip. Look at me now.
Look at me now.
Look at me now.
So I guess we're gonna. So I'll talk about this real quick because I know we were gonna like semi-touch on it. So the holding call, hot take, not as I don't want to put it, not as bad or as vital as everybody's saying that.
It's not.
I think the fact that they had 2 timeouts left is what hurt them more than the holding call. Because as Greg also talked about earlier in the game, whenever Philly took that delay of game, he was like, Sirianni's probably, taking these delay of games because, he probably is going to need his timeouts later. And then like 2 or 3 plays later, they had to waste a timeout to avoid another delay of game. So I think if they had their 3, so even with that hold happening, if they don't use that timeout early, they still have all 3 of their timeouts. So that probably forces Kansas City to move a little bit more aggressively, especially on another 3rd down. So potentially, they still could have got the ball back without there being too much of a problem.
To me, regardless though, it's like the Eagles allowed the Chiefs to go on every drive. So it's like,
And it could have been 4 touchdowns if they really wanted to.
yeah. So it's like, to me, the holding call, yeah. I wouldn't call it at the moment as the ref,
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
but like, I get it. It was the right call.
It was the right call.
It was the right call.
My only wish is, I'm rooting for the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, I did just want to see a good game, and I do think that taints the game a little bit because it is controversy. But the only thing I wish is that the flag is down before the ball hits the turf. It's like
that makes sense.
the flag is thrown as a result of the pass being incomplete, and I'm fine with it if the flag is on the ground because the hold happened 2 seconds before the ball hit the turf. So it's like you're deciding in your mind whether you want to throw the flag.
In the air.
It was He ran off the line, got held the first time, got held a second time off the zig. So it's a hold. But in that moment, it's like that's not the type of call where you can just wait to see how the play plays out, then you throw the flag. This is the biggest game of the year. And it just looks a little crazy when the flag comes in late. And like you go to any gym, nobody likes a late foul call. I mean, even if it's a foul, nobody likes a late foul call. So to throw that flag late and to throw it at all, I don't think I would have been able to throw that flag in that moment, simply because the game was just so great, and that flag clearly decided that that game was over after that point.
Yeah.
No one play changes the game, of course, but that one play ended the game. There are things the Eagles could have done beforehand to win the game, put the game way out of reach. The Eagles were up 10 at halftime. But, I mean, it's all semantics at the end of the day. I'm glad it happened. I was rooting for the Chiefs. So I'm glad they won the game. I just wish they would have won in a more pleasing manner. And I think this game could have easily gone down as the greatest of all time if that flag wasn't thrown in that manner.
Yeah.
I think it's still there though. I think it's still one.
It's definitely up there for sure.
But
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else to say? Y'all wrap it up.
I think we can go wrap it up with the collective.
Take it home.
I guess we'll never know with the Georgia quarterback, man.
Oh my goodness.
This is so nasty. That is
Lamar.
not. I thought he was
Guess
going
It's
to
we'll
go.
always
never know.
next year.
I guess they'll never know.
I
I
guess
guess
Jalen.
we'll never know.
I thought he was going to use the holding penalty to say that. That was good. That was good though, David.
But y'all, that's
I
it.
guess
Play
we'll never
podcast
know.
Super Bowl episode wrap up from CT, prize winner, and we will see y'all next time. Stay tuned for what the
Shout out my Terps, man. They just won today.
Oh, the Terps too.
Purdue.
Shout out
yeah,
Terps.
shout out my Terps.
UMB.
Shout out my Terps. Yes,
Amen.
sir.
Stay tuned for the next play.